Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Art of Inspiration podcast. I've been waiting to have today's guest on the show. We have an amazing entrepreneur. He is a photographer that has shot over 500 magazine covers. He is also a business coach. He focuses on fitness entrepreneurs, and he is the founder of Fitposium, which is an annual conference for entrepreneurs in the fitness space. Overall, this man is just an inspiration. I'm super excited to have him on the show. Ladies and gentlemen, James Patrick. James, thanks so much for taking your time to come on the show. How are you?
I am doing so great, Raf. Thank you so much for having me be a part of this. I have to just give a little bit of gratitude. One, for having me be a part of this conversation, but man, your voice, what a great podcasting voice. The second you went up to that mic, I was like, damn, he's owning this. Like some voices I feel like were just made for podcasting, and yours is one of those.
Thank you, sir. So I hope I gave you a good introduction. It doesn't say enough about the work that you've done. I'd love for you to tell the audience just a little bit about you. Tell us a little bit about your story.
So the bird's eye view was that I actually had no intention to do any of the things that I'm doing right now. And for the most part, they were doors that I decided to walk through. So with photography, because I was the first door, I had no idea that professional photography was a thing. I didn't know any professional photographers. It's not like I was meeting a bunch of people walking around with cameras. In fact, the way I looked at photography was it's an expensive hobby. And that's what was told to me when I first looked at a camera. I was a writer in college. I was a journalist. And the idea, I thought, was that, well, I suppose I'll work as a journalist, and then after college, I'll get a staff writing position. Maybe I can work myself up to editor. And that's the map of the next 50 years of my life. I was not excited about it. I got to be honest. And working at a newspaper, I was in college. One day, a camera was put in my hands, and they said, James, we need you to go take photos to go along with one of your articles. I said, fine. As I'm heading out the door, the editor stops me and says, wait, do you know how to take photos? I said, no, I have no idea. Like, I'm 19 years old. Turn it on, right? And what I ended up doing was absolutely falling in love with photography. But that being said, this is not a safe option, and we're kind of indoctrinated to believe, well, just choose the safe option. And after, I was coming up on graduation, all of a sudden I had an opportunity to work in marketing. And, as the regular paycheck, the benefits, the 401k, all of that. And I said, well, I guess I'm a marketer now. And for 7 years I worked in marketing, but that passion for photography kept itching beneath the surface. And while I was working my marketing job, I started building my photography business on the side, and it got to a point where I was working 2 full-time jobs, and I had to walk away from the marketing job and just focus on my photography business. But as I'm doing this photography business, I'm really honing in on the health and wellness industry because it's what I was loving to do and to create images of great athletes and health and wellness professionals. But what I was seeing, Raf, was that so many of my clients, once I'd create these visual images for them, for their branding, for their marketing, for their publicity, they had no idea what to do with the images once I created them. Even if I helped them and did things like helping them get published, they would have no idea what to do with all that attention that they were getting from these PR features. I had a client who she came to me and says, I'd love to get published. I said, all right, well, let's try. Let's make some images. Let's circle them around, see what happens. Off that one photo shoot, she landed 3 magazine covers.
Wow.
She landed a local magazine cover, a national magazine newsstand cover, and an international newsstand cover. I talked to her a year later, and she was out of business. Within 1 year of landing these 3 major covers, she was out of business. Said, what happened? She said, I had no idea what to do with all that attention. And this was kind of pre-Instagram, pre-Facebook. She just had no idea what to do with the attention. She said, okay, well, what if we had conversations about that? And that was really the impetus behind the Fitposium conferences. Let's congregate people together in a symposium, a sharing of ideas on how we can support each other's professionals within the health and wellness industry to build a brand, to market a brand, and to profit from a brand. And we've been doing it now. We're going to our 7th year of the Fitposium conference. But in each of these elements, and I apologize that was kind of a long journey, but in each of these elements, from from journalism to photography into marketing, and there was a sidestep into public speaking. It all came back together when I decided to host that conference, because now I'm pulling in from that marketing background, from that public speaking I did for a little bit, into that photography business and homogenizing it all together to say, listen, we don't just want to make you images, we want to make you images that work, and then we want to help you actually succeed beyond that.
I absolutely love that. The fact that you had that vision, there was a window of opportunity there. And it really started with a camera being placed in your lap, and you wrote an article and they said, hey, take a picture. You fell in love with it and then went on this journey into marketing. But the camera just seemed to be calling your name for all these years. And at some point you had to make a choice. Which one am I going to choose? And obviously you chose photography. Went a step further and saw that many of the fitness professionals out there, while they may be on magazine covers and getting all this attention, they don't necessarily know how to maintain a brand presence. So you've gone on a further venture to help give these people the tools to really, truly be successful. So that's amazing. So you've created all these windows of opportunity for yourself. So you have Fitposium, you have over 500 covers that you've shot for magazines. I'm going to have to assume that doesn't happen so easily. As you are rising as a photographer and as an entrepreneur, are there any setbacks that you faced? And if so, how did you overcome them?
It's so funny because there was this free ebook online from one of my favorite authors, Chris Guillebeau, and it was called 279 Days to Overnight Success. And that title right there, it perfectly edifies what we have to go through as entrepreneurs, where people only see, and social media made this worse because people only see the greatest hits of our lives. What we are not talking about, what we're not showing, what people are not seeing is the 10 years of work we had to put in to get to, in my career, I've probably shot, 500,000 frames on a camera. Well, only 500 ended up on magazine covers. If you were to look at that from a mathematical perspective, that is not a winning ratio right there. I had this statement that the worst 10,000 photos I took were the first 10,000 photos I took. My portfolio has been constantly evolving since I started taking photography seriously. And that's something we really need to honor in this journey, is that this is a constant evolution of what we are trying to do. There is no made it. There is no perfect. It is a constant striving to get closer to that idea that we want to achieve. Okay. But you had asked about setbacks. I made this mistake, and it's so easy for young entrepreneurs to kind of fall into this mindset that if you're not successful, it's because you're not working hard enough. If you're not earning what you should be earning, it's because you're not hustling. We kind of hear like these monikers that say that, well, we just need to work more hours. And there was a period of time in my life where I'm kind of working both businesses at the same time. I'm working my marketing job. I've grown my photography business to a six-figure business. And I'm part of like 7 professional trade organizations. I'm on the board of 3 of them. I'm president of 1 or 2 of them. Like my days are running from 5 a.m. to about 1 or 2 in the morning. Like this is just what I'm doing for a year on end. And, my evenings are just filled with, well, you got to go to this networking mixer because that's what you do in marketing. And you got to go to this event and you got to go over here. And it wasn't that I was burning the candle at both ends. I just took the entire box of candles and threw it into the fire. And what I started to realize was that I'm not feeling so good. And I ended up going to the doctor, and I was like, I'm just not feeling good. Maybe we can run some blood work, I have all this fatigue. And he's like, well, let's look at this. You've put on a lot of weight in the last year. You're not sleeping. You're only sleeping a few hours a night. You're not exercising because, who has time to exercise? Like, I'm building a business, all the things. I'll do this once I get to a certain level. All right. I'll do this once I get to a certain level. My blood sugar was dangerous. It was to that point where it's almost pre-diabetic, and I have diabetes in my family. So I'm now like really messing with my body. My blood pressure was critical to the point where he's like, "You're in your 20s. I might have to put you on blood pressure medication. What are you doing?" And it was this kind of this spark to realize that I've been really prioritizing so much in my life incorrectly. Now, that was the foundation of the realization. It didn't hit until years later, when I started to make some different shifts in my priorities, where I started to prioritize my health and wellness. But the real thing I noticed was I was on this trail run. This was a number of years ago. I was on a trail run in Scottsdale, and I came up to this summit on this trail, and I'm looking down into this valley, and I see this strong saguaro cactus, and it's just this big saguaro cactus. I'm just hoping that the trail runs along next to it so I can see the whole thing. So I start running down the hill, and sure enough, the trail comes up to it. Now I can see the full cactus. Now that I can see the full cactus, I see that the bottom third of it is rotted out to the skeleton. And at most, it might last another year before those ribs in this cactus crack. This cactus is going to fall over and it's going to die. This is how I was living my life, because I was doing everything on a weak foundation. Yes, I'm focusing on my business. I'm building this business empire, but I'm not honoring my body. So what is the point of building this business empire if I am not healthy to live long enough to see it succeed? Yes, I'm building this great business empire, but I'm mentally stressed out and malnourished in my mind. What is the point of building this great business if I am too stressed to ever actually enjoy it? And then it was, yes, I'm building this great business, but I've left no time for quality relationships in my life. At the time, I was not seeing anyone. I had given up on dating. I had very few friends, because who wants to be friends with a guy who always says no to hanging out or getting together because he's too busy? He's building his empire. And when I see, those memes on Instagram, it's like, oh, I don't have time for this because I'm building my empire. This is just reinforcing this. Okay. And what I realized was that I had to shift my priorities, that I had to build a great, healthy body. I then had to nourish a very sharp mind. And then I had to honor relationships, great relationships in my life. And when I did those three things, then I can focus on my business. And I have to tell you, when I shifted that, when I took business and put it last, all of a sudden, miraculously, and it shocked me, I had more time for my business. I had more time to grow a business, and my business became more successful when I built it on the right foundation. So that was that shift that I had to do, or that flip of that funnel, where I put my body first, then my mind, then my relationships, then my business.
That is such a valuable lesson, and one that I hope everyone out there really hears. And the thought of me, I can picture you running down this trail and seeing this cactus that may look healthy from a distance, but when you walk up to it, it's ready to fall over. I can relate to that so much, because that's how I was when I first started working my corporate job, and then waking up at 4:30 in the morning, trying to get my side hustle on, working a 12-hour day, and then working on my own business until midnight, until my wheels literally fell off and there was nothing left, and I almost gave up. So that's tremendous. You almost worked yourself into the ground. And really what you're saying, it goes along so well with the idea of mind body business, is what I always try to teach and to speak on to my audience in social media and to the people that I coach. What is the point of having success if your body is a mess and you're not happy and your relationships are shattered? What an amazing amount of value. I mean, we've got a few more questions left, but I feel like you've already dropped such amazing value on us. So I hope everyone out there is really looking at that and making themselves a priority. So now that you've decided to make that shift, you've made yourself a priority, and your business is flourishing right now. Tell us a little bit more, dig into, as an entrepreneur, what you do, how you help people, and perhaps some tips for aspiring entrepreneurs, maybe especially in the fitness arena.
It's so interesting, because earlier today I was doing a meditation and journaling on if I had to define myself, how would I define myself? Because I feel like so many people really struggle. It's like, well, who are you? And it's a hard question to really peel apart. And I was like, well, who am I? And the first thing I thought of, I started listing out like my job titles and responsibilities. Like, no, that's not who I am. There's a deeper layer there. And what it really came down to was, the sum of everything is I take storytelling and teaching, and I really brought those two together. And whether it's through my visual art, through photography, whether it's through my articles, whether it's through my podcast, whether it's through my presentations, whether it's through my coaching, all of it is really this form of storytelling that is a teaching or a lesson or a guide for others to open up success in their own life. Because I look at the different milestones that I've had in my trajectory, and every step of the way there was someone right there with me. Every step of the way. Okay, we can say that we're all self-made, sure, to some degree, but we're self-made because someone showed us what self to make, in a sense. Where someone's like that marketing job. How did I get that marketing job? Because someone recommended me. That camera that was put in my hands, someone had to put it in my hands. That support I had from my boss at my marketing job to push me to leave the company to start my own career. All these are facets where I have this belief that all of us are one step away from everyone else. Our job is to figure out what that one step is. So when I go to a conference, I see someone up on stage. My job is to figure out what is the one step between me and this person that I could take. Okay. But then my other responsibility is to see who is one step behind me and help them figure out what that next step is. Okay. This is how we create a community within an industry. Now, the fitness industry, the health industry, has been rocked in the last 12 months, and no one could have seen this coming, with one giant asterisk. Many of the changes that have happened within our industry would have happened anyway. And that's a really important thing to realize. Many of the changes that did happen would have happened anyway. What happened over the last 12 months is the changes got accelerated. Online was always going to happen. It was always going to grow. It got accelerated. People pulling back from gym memberships was always going to happen. It accelerated. Okay. So what we have to do as entrepreneurs, our job as entrepreneurs is not to do what we did before. And if our stance and our position is, I want things to go back to the way they were, we're setting ourselves up for a really rough next year. Okay. I saw this as a photographer, where when I got into photography, people were making the transition from film to digital. And so many professional photographers were saying, you know what, real pros do not shoot digital. Well, guess what? Consumer demand dictated that we want digital assets. So if you were a digital photographer, you were into the new industry. If you stuck with film, it became irrelevant. All right. I saw it again when social media came out. Real clients are not going to hire photographers through social media. Consumer behavior demanded we want to connect with others to form a new level of connection and to find people we want to work with. And we don't just want to hire the best. We want to hire people we like. And the best way to find people we like is through leveraging social media channels. So if you didn't get on board, you were left behind. I saw it again in 2008 during that recession there, where photographers would say, you know what? All these new photographers in the industry, they're ruining the industry. They're lowering rates. They're crowding the industry. Everyone's a photographer now. I hear that all the time in the fitness industry now. Everyone's a coach now. And these new coaches are ruining the business. They're charging too little. They're giving away too much. They're ruining it for the rest of us. No, they're not. What they are doing is what the photographers were doing back in 2008. They're responding to the new demands of consumers. Because if consumers wanted something and someone's giving it to them, that's where they're going to gravitate to. Our job as entrepreneurs is to have our finger on the pulse of what our clients need from us moving forward, not what they needed from us before. And that could mean changing services. That could mean changing positions. That could mean changing businesses. I've had to do it. I run 8 businesses, several of which were massively affected by what has happened over the last 12 months. That being said, we got every one of them to be profitable in spite of that. All right. It took a lot of work. But that is our job, is to have our head on a swivel, to look around. What do clients need? And if you're listening to this and you're just getting started out, the first things you should be doing is you should be getting your top clients, your best clients on the phone, and just say, listen, I would just love to chat with you for 15 minutes. You can even incentivize by saying, I'll give you an Amazon gift card for your time. All right. But most of your clients, if they're really good clients, they'll give you that 15 minutes. Ask them about where they're at right now. Ask them about their needs. Ask them about their pain points. Ask them about their aspirations, what they want from you moving forward. And you might find it might be different from what you're already delivering to them. These are important conversations to have, because if we don't have a sense of what our clients need moving forward, someone else will. And that is something to remember.
That is some of the most valuable information regarding entrepreneurship that I feel that we've ever heard on the Art of Inspiration podcast. And the idea that you had this foresight, consumer behavior, that you understood that you have to look at what your audience needs. What do your potential clients need? And I tell people that 2020 really was a year of opportunity. It wasn't a year of opportunity if you were stuck waiting for things to go back to the way they were and you were sitting in your chair hoping things would change. But the consumer demanded something else. Our attention shifted elsewhere, and a lot of it, as it fits into the fitness space, was social media. How can I connect with a fitness coach via Zoom? How can I still maintain what I'm doing right now outside of a gym? So looking at where the consumer is pointing their attention is the key, really, I think, to jumping ahead and finding your opportunity as an entrepreneur. Thank you so much for that. Wow. That was just a knowledge bomb.
Well, and the one thing I'll add to that is this doesn't mean you have to change the ethos of your business. Okay. So you have so many trainers and coaches that listen to this. You got into this industry to serve and to help others. You got into this because the people you are serving want to cultivate a change within their own life. You're still achieving that. You're still helping them. You're still guiding them. You're still leading them. But how you're doing it may have changed. And that's the thing. It's the how that shifts, not necessarily just what the ultimate goal is. So you can still really honor why you got into this industry. That doesn't need to change. It's just the way and the manner of which you're doing it that might need to adjust.
Absolutely. Wow. And I love, one of the things that stuck out to me is just serve and support, because when it comes down to it, as coaches, as entrepreneurs, whatever your product or service is, it solves somebody's problem.
Yep.
And that is how we serve and support people. So I love that. Now, you've just dropped some amazing knowledge on us, and you've hit, you started talking about just some of these milestones that you've hit along your way as an entrepreneur. And you have 8 businesses right now, which is amazing, still going, still growing. But I'm really interested to know, what do you feel in your heart is your true breakthrough, and what is your definition of success?
The two actually go really hand in hand, because I was, and I'll say the word guilty, I was guilty of setting goals for myself that I never allowed myself to achieve. So there's a difference in setting goals you just will never achieve and setting goals that you will not allow yourself to achieve. And it's based upon what you do once you reach that goal. So for example, one of my goals was, well, if I could match the income I'm making in my corporate job with my photography business, I'll be successful, right? Well, I did that, but right when I was about to do it, I just moved the goal. Okay, that's the difference. I was like, well, what if I doubled it? I did that. But as I was meeting it, I was like, well, what if I doubled that? Okay, but here's the thing. I didn't feel any different when I was doing this. I felt the same. I thought I'd feel different. I thought once I make 6 figures as an artist, I will have made it. I'll be successful. I will. There's nothing else I could want after that. But then I hit it. I was like, hell, I feel the same I did yesterday. Well, let's do multiple 6 figures. Let's do $500,000. Let's or at the time it was $250,000. Let's do that. Well, I feel the same. Like this is weird. And I don't want to position myself as, oh, woe is me. I'm earning all this revenue and I feel the same. No, it's not that. But I thought that once I hit a certain metric that things would change, right? And I think that could resonate with listeners regardless of where they're at. And what I learned was that it didn't matter the metric I set. whether it was, well, I remember one year I shot like 30 magazine covers in a single year. I was like, oh, what if I did 50? And at the end of 50, I was like, that's about the same. What if I had 2 magazine covers on newsstand at the same time so I can go into a store and see them both? It felt the same. It felt the same. And what I realized was that I'm placing conditions on success. And when I'm placing conditions on my success, because I have that drive, and anyone listening to the show has that drive, we're always going to change the condition. And we will never allow ourselves to celebrate the victory. And what I shifted, kind of that breakthrough moment for me, is when I shifted looking at success as conditional and realizing it was a choice. I choose success. I choose that even though I have a bad day, I'm successful. Today was a success. I choose that, even though like a handful of my clients went out of business last year, like, hey, magazine publishing is not a great business right now. So I lost a number of clients in the last 2 years. I'm still a success. Okay. Every day I choose success. It's a choice we make. And there are ways that you can reinforce that choice. For me, it's in how I honor my habits. It's in my gratitudes. It's in my intentions, in my meditations. It's in how the time I spend with my family. All of it is a choice for success. And that right there, shifting how I look at my trajectory from conditional to being a choice was a big breakthrough. It doesn't mean I don't set goals. I set very aggressive goals, and I love goal setting. I love achieving my goals, but I don't tie my success, nor do I tie my fulfillment to the achievement of those goals.
Wow. That is so much, because I look at those milestones, which you set goals for yourself. And these are not average goals. You set some pretty lofty goals for yourself and continuously hit them, and realize that the whole time fulfillment was a choice. It was inside of you, something that you can decide at any moment in time. And I think that lesson is so valuable for people to understand, because if you are a motivated individual, which everybody who is listening to The Art of Inspiration is a motivated, driven person, you're never going to be satisfied. You're going to continuously set goals and set another goal. And your message is just amazing to make sure that you choose success, that you choose fulfillment along the way. Happiness is in the journey. So that's, wow. You've brought us on an amazing journey. You've brought us through the rise of an entrepreneur in so many different aspects, as a photographer, as a coach, looking through windows of opportunity, overcoming setbacks, shifting your mindset, being able to take the skills that you've learned and help other people, still continuously growing. Right now, everyone is wondering one question: how do I find this guy? So James, how can people get in touch with you? How can they learn more about your work and what you do?
I appreciate that so much. Easiest way, my website's jamespatrick.com. I'm on Instagram at jpatrickphoto, and I'll give a gift to your listeners. What I'm curious about is, for your listeners, the number one takeaway that your listeners are going to be implementing into their own trajectory. And I want you to post this on Instagram. The number one takeaway you have that you're implementing in your own journey, I want you to tag Raf. Raf, what's your Instagram handle?
Raf Garay, R-A-F.
Raf Garay.
Yep.
So tag at Raf Garay and then tag at jpatrickphoto. Tag us both. The first 10 people I see do this, I'll send you a DM, and I'm going to send you a copy of my book, The Fit Business Guide, The Workout Plan for Your Brand, as my gift to help equip you to take that next step in this journey.
Wow. James, thank you so much. I'm going to make sure that this gets out there. That is incredible. So for everyone out there, get ready, because you have something really awesome coming your way. So make sure to tag James and myself. Let us know what you're going to be implementing, and you will have a copy of his book. So thank you so much. So we know where to find you. I told you I had a surprise question.
Oh, that's right. The surprise question.
That's
okay.
it. The surprise question. And I think you're going to nail this one. It's a little bit of a funny question. So let's just say you're about to get on one of those SpaceX rockets and you're heading off to the moon, and you're going to just hang out there for the rest of your life. You're never coming back to Earth. You're never going to be able to communicate with us again. Going to live in space. But we handed you a box. And inside that box, you can put something for this world to remember you by. It could be words of affirmation. It could be a quote. It could be a piece of advice. Anything you want. It could be something material. What is it that you would put inside that box?
So the box is what I leave behind on Earth.
Yep.
Okay. I already know it. So I mentioned that I honor my success and my fulfillment through certain habits. One of those habits is I journal every single day. And journaling for me is really a part of an achievement of, I have these, you mentioned that you really have 3 pillars on how you honor success, and yours were mind, body, and business. And when you told me that, I was smiling to myself, just thinking, oh, well, I kind of look at, my body, mind, business, and relationships. Like they're so parallel. But I have these 3 pillars that I operate, how I really orchestrate my life. And that's vision, purpose, and legacy. Because when you set vision, you live with purpose, and when you live with purpose, you leave behind legacy. And one of my daily habits that I do every single day is this journaling. And for me, this is me imparting legacy. And I've saved these journals for years. I just got a nice collection of these different journals that are just a catalog of my thoughts, my feelings, my ideas, my emotions, my evolution, my lessons learned. It's interesting to go back at these and read these to just see how I've changed over the last several years. And the thought that I've had with this in this leaving behind this legacy is this would be such a great gift when my wife and I start our family to give to my children or to my children. I guess that could be singular or plural. And to have and to kind of understand, like, what was it that I was going through my journey, and hopefully it offers some insights for their own journey. So it would be all the journals into that box.
Wow. And that is an excellent way to vision your own path, starting with your vision all the way to your legacy. And for those of you out there, if you have not been inspired yet, which is probably impossible at this point, that had to light a fire inside of you. Follow the vision all the way through your purpose, and you will leave your legacy behind. James, you've been such an amazing guest. You've given us your journey. You've given us some amazing insight into the world of an entrepreneur. You've given people tips for how they can make themselves just a little bit better at what they do. So I just want to thank you one more time for giving us this gift that you've given us, giving us your time, giving us your knowledge, telling us a little bit about your story. So thank you. Thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, photographer, entrepreneur, author, all around, just an amazing human being. Ladies and gentlemen, James Patrick. James, thanks so much.
Thank you so much, man. And I just have to give one last expression of gratitude for you, because this industry is better because individuals like yourself step up to this microphone that you're on, that you share these insights, that you bring people together to have these conversations, and your listeners just are so fortunate to have someone like you kind of leading that path and paving that way and showing them what those next steps are. So just really grateful that you're doing this show.
Thank you so much, my friend. Ladies and gentlemen, there you have it. James Patrick.